Of course, I did tell you, as is the norm, I'm not alone. Victor Muyakane and Linda Alela are also on set, and we are looking at lessons from the Embakasi gas tragedy. On my end right here, I'll be speaking to Martin Shumba, the chairman of Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. Thank you so much for joining us, Martin. We shall be coming to see what the loopholes are, but I want us to cross over to Linda first because she has a guest who happens to be a victim of the fire. Linda, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, George. As you rightfully put it, this is the conversation that we get to. And of course, as we get to it, I think the most important bit to begin with is just having a clear picture of what really played out that night. But George, I'm told that you have to take it from me first, set the pace, and then we come back here.
Okay, thank you, Linda, for that. Now, Bwana Martin, let's look. You are the chairman of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya.
Yes.
What were the loopholes?
I would want to, first of all, say I really empathize with the people that has been affected by this, because it's having loss of life in the way we've had. It's something very regrettable, not only for the families, but for the whole industry of petroleum. Just like any other industry out there, you'll notice that there are always loopholes, and these loopholes are occasioned by sometimes people trying to do things that are outside the laid down procedure. First of all is, I would want to first of all appreciate the fact that in the country recently we have developed systems through the laws that the government has put forth through EPRA. And we have very robust and very good laws that are safeguarding the interest of the people, given that this country gas is becoming one of the best options as to opposed to the biomass that people have been using. So because the industry has been growing a lot, it has become incumbent upon the government to make sure that they institute laws that safeguard the use of gas, given that it's a flammable and a very volatile kind of a commodity. Having said that, when an industry is growing and things are coming up, people are coming up and trying to find their space in that business, you'll always find that sometimes there will be people and who try to do things sometimes outside the lay down procedure. And for one reason or the other, you'll find that the institutions that are there are in one way or the other incapacitated when it comes to policing some of these things. So you'll find that some institutions like, say, EPRA will get to a place where they can either deny or give you a license. Then what you go to do after that, most of these people, when they do these things and the things that you call sometimes illegal gas filling, they are not doing it in the open. So it is hidden in a way. So you'll find that such the kind of loopholes that happens, because sometimes we have the institutions do not have the adequate capacity to police some of these things. So that calls now for concerted efforts. If you ask me where the loopholes are, I would say that the community around this, one thing, it's not empowered in terms of knowledge to know that some of these things that are happening around your space are not only hazardous to the people doing them, but also to the neighbors, such that if you're a neighbor and something like that is happening around you, you are able to shout it, because it will not only affect you, it will affect the people. It will not only affect the people that are doing that, but it will affect the whole community. So for me, the major loophole is the awareness, the societal awareness of the kind of a hazardous product that you are dealing with. When you see a gas installation, or when you see a gas transporter vehicle, or when you see these cylinders that sometimes you see people throwing them from the vehicle, throwing them, that is something that people need to be educated. And I'm glad that we have people who are very good in that field on set today to probably shed some light on the kind of things that people are supposed to be on the lookout in, to make sure that they safeguard themselves against such kind of occurrences in future.
POAK,
yes.
In the era of people trying to make an extra shilling, especially in this economy,
yes.
are you regulating your outlet suppliers?
Thank you. POK, the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, is an organization that I am the founding chair and the current, and we formed it or founded it ostensibly to bring together a very fragmented industry that was, because the recent survey by EPRA indicates that 68% of all petrol stations across the country are independent. But they are not very visible because they are not along the highways and the byways. They're the guys that will feed the rural economy, and they used to be very fragmented. So in our formation, we've come up with self-regulations within our system. We have checks that qualifies you to be a member. For us to mark you, or for you to have a badge that you are a member of POK, you have to meet certain thresholds. Okay. We are doing this because we have realized, in as much as we have regulatory authority, their capacity may not be as robust as we may want, because our economy has not developed to an extent that we can have that capacity realistically. But it is in our interest that our businesses are safeguarded. So we have come to complement. When they give us the regulations through KEBS and everybody else that is involved in that, we come and take those and take them, synthesize them in the language that our people can understand, because the people that do the business that we do are not you and me, are not people who went to school. Most of them are not people who went to school to study business or to study all these things. They do these things as a matter of survival. The way somebody wakes up in the morning and puts up a kiosk outside there to sell sodas or to sell whatever they are selling, it's a matter of survival. But then again, the government recognizes that these are key players of the economy. So how do you accommodate them? You accommodate them by making sure that they understand what needs to be done to grow that business. Does the government has the capacity to do that? Realistically, they don't have. So as an organization, we have taken that over to make sure that we aggregate these people and make sure that we are able to pass the information that the government needs to. And also, we are also able to take information, because we are a lobby organization also, to the pain points of these people who are doing business, to make sure that the government also understands. So we have a self-regulatory system within ourselves, and we are able to ask our people to make sure that they adhere to certain laid down procedures. But you'll always find people outside now our organization with different intentions and motivations. You know, there are a lot of push factors when it comes to some of these things that happens out there. And those are now outside our purview. Yeah.
Before you cross over to Linda, I just wanted to find out, Martin, in the era of also, you know, we all know, or rather there has been this notion that when you get a cylinder from a gas station, a petrol station, the price is slightly higher than when you use alternative means. And nowadays they're filled up across the streets of, you know, residential areas. If you want gas, call this number. This person will just deliver the gas to you. How then is this, how safe, without inducting on these people who are in business in that form, how safe is that way of acquiring gas?
The truth is that the laws that we have today do not allow for people to fill in cylinders that they do not belong to them. Okay. So if a cylinder is coming from company A, the company A ought to have given express authority to anybody within the value chain that is dealing with that gas. We can't criminalize the people that are vending gas at the last mile if they have the valid authorization of the owner of the brand. But then again, you realize that there will be those people now who do, because it's within us, who will be involved in that illegal filling. So for them, they do not pay a lot of other things, so they are able to subsidize, quote unquote, and give. They could even be giving the right quality, quantity of the gas. But then again, they have escaped a lot of loopholes within the value chain, and this gives them an undue advantage. The other ones, they also understand that when most of the people in the villages and most of the people in the places where they buy this gas do not have the capacity to come and ask, can you tell me how many kilos are these? So when you get your gas, you cannot, weighing it with your hands, you cannot tell the difference between a 10 kg and a 13 kg. So you just pick it and you only tell that gas yangu umaliza 10 days and this time round inaisha na 8 days. That is the only way you are able to tell that. So, and then again, you see when you're feeling, when this is happening, there's a lot of other issues that are too dangerous, because when you're doing an illegal gas filling, there's something which people overlook. We call it health, safety, and environment and safety. It is a very important component in whatever we do. There are standardization that are given to these, to the licensed filling stations, so that they are able to do it in a safe way. These are the ones, nobody mans them, nobody polices them. So it is you, the owner, whoever is doing that, you are at liberty to do whatever you want to do. And because people have different motivations to do different things, you'll find that people will compromise these standards. At the end of the day, we are dealing with a very flammable and volatile product, and that poses a lot of danger.
Indeed, thank you so much, Martin. When we come back on this, we shall also be looking at how then to correct the possible ways of correcting these loopholes that we have highlighted. But I now want to take us to Linda Alela. Linda, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, George. Perhaps where we could have begun this conversation from, Beatrice Nduta Nyamwitha is with me, a resident of Embakasi and pretty much a victim of this Embakasi explosion. And we go straight to Beatrice so that she can walk us through what that night was like. I know that we are intending to have a progressive conversation, but we can only, pick it up and understand it best if we get it to hear from the horse's mouth. So Beatrice, over to you. Thank you so much for finding time to be here with us. Labda utuambie hiyo siku ilikuwaje kama ulikuwa nyumbani?
My name is Beatrice Nduta, a victim, na nilikuwa nyumbani, and it was around 11:30. I heard some noise from neighbors saying that they could smell something like gas, and they alerted a lot of people. It took like 10 minutes, and people could.
So it was that strong.
It was that strong.
Okay.
I'm actually very near to the company where they sell gas.
And so this was not the usual smell?
It was not the usual smell. No, it was too much.
Have you heard of any people who actually felt like this was too much and maybe wakaamua kuanza kusonga mbali?
Yeah, that's what we did. Because when we were called from the houses, some people were sleeping. So we called our neighbors and told them there is something that is not going well. So after maybe 5 minutes, that's when the first explosion. Yeah.
So when you say the first, then there was a second, and I'm gonna experience too. No.
Yeah, because there were gas cylinders, there were the lorries that were carrying yeah.
How was it like?
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad because the explosion was so intense that you could hear the building shaking. Yeah. So people ran out, and nobody knew where to go because the flame was all over.
Okay.
So some fell, some burnt as they were running. Yeah, and the smoke was so much.
You came out of this unscathed yourself, like labda ukuchomeka ama nini?
I will say there is need for people to be educated on fire. It was just a month ago that in our company where I work, we were educated about safety. Okay. And in the first flame, I slept on the ground.
All right.
Though some people walked over me.
So this was, you were now, employing the lessons that you had learned.
Exactly. And it was barely a month since I learned that.
Okay.
So I see the need of educating from school, from all over, on the safety, on how people can react to such a thing.
And I know it's basically like around 6 days from this. Just how has this impacted your life, and especially now that you speak about the question of safety, in the line of safety? I've really, myself, I've really researched so much about it, and I'm really telling people and talking to people about safety. Yeah, because even 2 days after, one day after that, it was yesterday I was called when I was at work, and we were told there's still gas leaking in the company. Okay. Even in the company or at home? Around the same place. Around home, yes. There's some gases I know. There's some cylinders that are having gas, and they were leaking, and we were called. Kids were taken from school, away from school. I was called from work. So it's still not very safe. Okay. So wewe uko pale nyumbani is still the same place that you... I don't know where to go. Sina mahali pa kuenda, me and my neighbors. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Because some pesa unless ile iko kwa account, hata kuenda kurent nyumba uwezi.
Uwezi.
Yeah.
Sasa mko hapo mnangoja tu.
Tunangoja tu. Tuliambiwa tutoke, mara tukaambiwa turudi, but still kuna hiyo harufu. Yeah.
All right. You are working to find accommodation, like you rightfully say, and you are also so focused on sensitizing and arranging therapy sessions for the victims.
Actually, I'm a counselor, so what I'm doing, I'm really working because me, I didn't ban. So the last 2 days we were working with Red Cross to get ambulances and get the patients. There are victims that are in the house. Wametoka after kutibiwa the first aid, they went back to the house. They don't have relatives. Nobody knows they're in the house. Maybe it's only one person in a plot. So we went house to house, taking them back to the hospital. Some were referred to main hospitals. Some went back home. Actually, they don't have anywhere else to go. Today, they were told to vacate from some were found rescue from the social hall, and today they were told to vacate the social hall. So now they are stranded. Some didn't even go home. Okay. They are just scattered around the road. Yeah, some were told to vacate. Some were taken by their relatives. Some relatives don't even know what happened. They don't know where they live. They don't know their whereabouts. So it's even, I'm even learning that you should tell your relatives where you live. Okay. Because some have seen on the news, but they still don't know that their relatives died or they were in the fire. Yeah.
Take us back maybe a month or 2 years back, and we realize that this farm has been in existence for quite a while.
Yeah.
Are there any forms of alarm that you ever experienced as neighbors within this space? And I mean, did you make any effort to just raise an alarm in relation to that, now that you're saying that as well you're in the counseling side?
Actually, they were claiming it's a garage until we noticed that some people are refilling gas there. So when we raised alarms and told the area chief, and they said that they are going to report, because all we could, like me, all I could is go to the area chief. And then we were told that the guy was taken to court. So we didn't follow to know what happened, but we heard that he was released. Yeah,
I mean, does that give you some element of regret that perhaps you could have pushed further? Now that you say, well, you can only go to the chief, do you think, as a people, as you sit down and, just have this story, do you feel like maybe you could have probed and pushed further?
I think, I will speak on my side. Like me, I wouldn't even have enough time because I'm working to go to these offices. I don't even have the capacity to know which office I'm supposed to go. So we really need to know what we are supposed to do. We really need to know if you go to this office and you are not helped, we sensitize the community. Because everybody in the community, like me, I'm very busy looking for daily bread. Surely running after such a case, it is too big for me. Right. Yeah.
How long have you stayed in this
I've been there for 18 years.
For 18 years?
Yeah.
Wow. All right, interesting. I know we are clear on the physical damage that has played out. The emotional damage, and now that you continue speaking to people, giving them counseling, and you are affected yourself, just how is it like?
It's very bad because even me, I'm counseling people. I don't have somebody even to counsel me because I'm very busy. People are very down. Kids, even they can't concentrate in school. Even women, like today I had a pregnant woman. I was trying to tell her that she needs counseling because she was telling me, I want to go to the social hall. They really need to know that they need to go to the social hall where there are volunteers who are doing counseling, because she's pregnant. Even the baby was affected. She only thinks of herself, but even the baby is a person. And I'm sure the baby is worried. What happened? Right. This is not the usual day-to-day program. Today we were running away, and he also had the voice. Yeah. So.
Don't you think, or perhaps have you wished that maybe you would have been away from work at this point to just figure out life? Now that you say you are still working even after the explosion.
Yes, I also need time. I also need myself because I was also there. Okay, as much as I'm working to help others, I also need myself. Sometimes we do take care of people and forget about ourselves. Like the day after yesterday, that there's one person who was assigning ambulances to me. He told me, Beatrice, I'm not going to give you another ambulance. You need to get rest, because my eyes were sleepy and I'm still getting patients.
So you're saying you're working, so that means this is away from your usual work.
I was volunteering.
Now volunteering to this.
I work in Coptic Hospital in Australia, and I was volunteering when I was not in. Okay, on Monday I didn't. When is today?
Today, Tuesday. Okay. Yesterday was on Monday.
So on Sunday, that is the day I was at home. Yesterday I went to work, and I was called to go back because of the other smell that was coming from the
area.
The same area.
Okay.
So yesterday I didn't go to help people, but I went to visit some in Kenyatta. And what I saw in Kenyatta, it put me down.
We're coming back to that. Allow us to loop in Victor as well on the other end. Victor with Babu Stima or Sitima, for us to get to understand this aspect of safety, like you rightfully put, is very, very important. Victor, to you.
Right, Linda. Thank you so much. And I was spellbound by the story that you were sharing. And I mean, this lady forgot her own discomfort, her own suffering, and was able to volunteer to be able to be of assistance to others. That is the true spirit of Kenyans. And on that inspirational note, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll have a fire safety expert with us. We want to analyze, break it down, what happened, and see what we can learn from the tragedy that hit us. After the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're joining us right now, this is the People's Court, and we are looking at the aftermath of the Embakasi Gas tragedy. We're looking at sorting through the remains, so to speak, the ashes, to see what we can glean from it as far as insight, as far as knowledge, and as far as empowerment and awareness, so that we would be at a better place, learning from our mistakes, so to speak. With me is Babu Sitima. Babu is a fire safety expert. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Now, I'd like my producer to so kindly cue the images and videos from that day, and I would like you to just look at it. And as you look at it, give me your impressions. What went through your mind when the news of this incident first hit the news waves? Talk to me about that. Simon, would you be so kind as to play the video? Where were you when you first heard about this?
I was at home, yes. The thing about fire is it spreads real fast. Under the law, we have different classifications of fire. We borrow from what we call the Factories and Other Places of Work Act, which speculates that these kind of fires under what we call Class B, which is flammable vapor. Okay, so these fires grow real fast. Even you don't have to be an expert to notice the irregularities of the location of this specific plant. Normally, before such an industry is set up, there is the NEMA and other government institutions and departments that try and give allowance and licenses, as Mwangi said. They try and talk about these different things. For example, NEMA will talk about environmental impact assessment, just to try and talk about how the plant or industry or even
where
institution,
they should be located.
exactly, how it impacts the entire community and even the environment. So there are questions that rise up. Okay.
So you're asking yourself these questions.
I'd see the explosion, and from the video, you'd see how close the individual who was recording is to the explosion. You wonder that proximity was quite worrying.
Have a look in the screen that we have in the studio. We can see the fire marshals and the rescue services just coming in. We can see some of the scope of damage that happened on that particular night. We're seeing a response of some kind. We're seeing a cordon, people being blocked from getting into the scene of the incident. When you look at something like this, and from your experience, where do you say we are as a country when it comes to fire safety?
We're far ahead.
Really?
Yes, we're far ahead. The law actually gives allowance for a lot. Okay. It talks about the structures and how building should be set up in terms of fire safety. Okay. Just a quick question even to you. Where do you live? Is there a fire extinguisher?
Yes.
There is. Do you have one of your own?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is that the same to your group of friends or your family? It might not be the answer, yet the law asks you to take part in that. There are certain bodies and institutions that actually certify and allow you to build, okay, and have provision for that. Under the same law, we have the minimum width of a concrete wall. If the wall is metal, okay, there's certain materials that you're supposed to use to construct. You're supposed to run risk assessments. How often do you run audits? Okay, these are things that are speculated. But the government itself, okay, does not have the capacity to do this on their own. I like what our colleague there said, that the government may not stretch out its resources to do all this, but we come in as reserve police. The same way the government may not be able to watch all crimes all day at all times. They give allowance for the reserve, the police reserve, okay, to man communities, the deep parts of the country. I see. Okay.
Where access is
exactly.
So from where, once again, from where you sit, you think we're far ahead?
We are far ahead.
Talk to me about the response to this particular incident.
The response, as per the city bylaws, was standard. They have their own bylaws, they have their own structure of response. So they did a very good response, considering the impact, okay, and the proximity and every other combustible that was present for the fire to spread this faster. Yeah, so the city county, in terms of response, is doing a good job.
Right. Now, when you look at a situation like this, there's the initial situation, which is a fire. And then there's the secondary things, the other things that, a series of unfortunate events that follow after that. In the panic, like what our dear guest was talking about, everyone was running from place to place, there was confusion in the air and so on. I'd like to take you back to a recent incident that we had in Kitengela. There was a fire there. And one of the key issues that came out of that is that the public, in their curiosity and in their attempt to try and salvage something, actually got into conflict with the people that were coming to put out the fire. Talk to us about how each of these groups that are all stakeholders in the fire should relate to each other.
Exactly. The government has what we call the National Disaster Management Unit. Okay, they are quick to respond to incidents that affect the community, who come and set up what we call an incident command system. Okay, that gives structure on how the community bystanders and the response teams are supposed to report to and how they behave.
Educate us on what exactly, how should we do this?
in real sense, don't go to where an incident happens. It's in human nature to run away from danger, okay? So it is also in human nature to be curious, okay? But if you're curious and you go to danger, and the danger, for example, the victim has continuously told us, and really I apologize to all the families, okay, that till now there's presence of the scent, okay, of the smell of gas, of leakage. Leakage would still be present. In any normal risk assessment, you'd find leakage of that magnitude to be present till date, okay? So if we would to advise anyone, okay, is whenever there's an incident, stay home, okay? But again, we have a sort of community where people actually instinct is to go and help, okay? If we empower people in communities using these laws that are in place, for example, the county can go out to try and build and empower different setup communities who are going to take up and try and man not only people, okay, but give way for those authorities who have the manpower and the resources to come in and help space, okay?
Now, Babu, you said something at the beginning that's quite interesting, that there are different classifications of fire.
Yes.
And presumably, each fire, distinct kind of fire requires a distinct kind of response.
Yes.
As simple as you can, break it down for us. What are the different types of fire, and what are the different responses that should be, this fire should be met with?
Just to be clear, I'll use the law, our local.
Just break it down for us, as simple as you can.
Class A is combustibles, ordinary combustibles.
What does that mean?
Your suit.
Oh, this is a combustible?
Yes, that's a combustible.
Okay.
Yes.
Clothes?
Most of material in the world, 70%, is Class A. Okay.
That means something that can burn?
Everything can burn in retrospect. Okay. But ordinary combustibles picks up the word ordinary, something ordinarily available. Okay. Then we go to Class B, which is flammable liquid, flammable gases, rubber. Okay. These are things that catch fire, for example, under 35 degrees Celsius. Okay. They're likely to take the name flammable. Okay.
So we're talking, what are the common things in our day-to-day? Petrol. LPG, that's a cooking gas.
Yes. Paraffin.
Yes.
We have liquid rubber. This is in some industries. Okay.
What about spirit, methylated spirit is part of that?
Yes.
Ethanol?
Yes.
Some kinds of alcohol?
Yes, some kinds of alcohol.
Right.
Some kinds.
Some kinds of alcohol.
Yes.
That's Class
B.
Class B.
Yes.
Flammable liquids and gases.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we have Class C. These are electrical equipment that can catch fire. Okay. This is as per the Kenyan law. Okay. Then we have Class D, which is flammable metals. Okay. Magnesium, lithium, which is currently coming into the country because of
the batteries. Exactly. Yes.
This is as per the Kenyan law, but we have the ILO and the international standard gauging of classes of fire, which is a bit different from where our law stands. For example, internationally, Class A is ordinary combustibles, Class B is flammable liquids, Class C is flammable gases. Okay, so there is a bit different in terms of Class C. Class D is the same flammable metals, but they have a Class E, which is cooking oil and cooking gas.
Oh, right. Sorry, cooking oil. Cooking oil.
Yes, cooking oil.
Oh, yes, because it does catch fire.
Yes, but it's different. It doesn't catch fire at the room temperature. The
same, okay. And quick one, where do aerosol sprays come in? You know, things like perfume or
because on engagement, they turn to gas.
Okay, they're vaporized, yes.
But on storage, they'd automatically fall into Class B.
I see. So now we want to shift gears a little bit and go over to George on the other side. When we come back, round the robin, we'd like you to talk to us a little bit about, so how do we deal with Class A? Empower us as regular citizens, because we are typically the first responders. When something happens. So how do we recognize that a fire, and these are questions, good people, send in your questions through the social media platforms, the SMS line, the WhatsApp line, they're all open. You will educate us when we come back on, how do we recognize what kind of fire it is and what kind of response is appropriate? All that and so much more when we come back. But for now, we shift over to George Maringa on the other side. Over to you, George.
Thank you indeed, Victor, for that insightful conversation on your end. Still here with my guest, that is the chairperson of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, POAK. Martin Shamba, thank you so much for staying with us. You've heard what has been said on the other side,
yes,
especially even when it comes to reacting and, from the expert of the fire safety, reacting to when situations happen such as this. But at the core of it all, perhaps whereas accidents are accidents and emergencies are emergencies, looking at the lucrative business that is in the sector that you handle, are you concerned about how things are currently and how we are moving as a nation with the current loopholes in the law that you spoke about earlier?
Thank you very much for that question, because I think it's one of the questions that really addresses my fear as a player in this industry.
Yes, talk to us.
In the onset, or rather the penetration of gas, in 2009, I think Kenya had a consumption of 1 kg per capita. Around 2017, it was about 5.3 kg per capita. I am not very sure of the current consumption, but it should be somewhere around 7 to 8 per capita. This is kgs. This is the market that is growing. The aim of the government has been to move the per capita consumption to the levels of countries like Turkey, which has about 15 kgs per capita. What I'm alluding to is that this, as it has been a lucrative business, but it's even getting more lucrative, because the penetration of gas is becoming, as I told you earlier, gas is what the government is moving towards when it is trying to talk about clean cooking, reducing the carbon emissions, and saving our forests. So gas is the way we are going. This can only point to an increased gas activities in this country. Unfortunately, we have a very ignorant society when it comes to the issues of how to handle such a flammable material or commodity. And now that is where my fear is. Today, you'll find that we have had a lot of issues and happenings whenever we have an accident in petroleum industry.
Yes.
Ranging from way back in Sachangwani, those of us who are still in the industry, you remember the magnitude of that accident.
Tragedy.
People saw what happened. And it has continued. We've had a series of accidents in the petroleum transportation sector. But as early as last year, and I think even this year, you'll still find that whenever there's an accident that involves a petroleum tanker, that people will mill around there with jerrycans going to get that product. Why? Because in social science, there is something we call power distance. I like to mention this quite a bit.
Yes.
And Kenya is a society that has a very high power distance. By power distance, I mean people who are not very keen to understand what really transpires. And as such, whenever there's an accident, people have this tendency of thinking it happens to others, not to me. Such that when a similar incident repeats itself in your locality, you do not have the remembrance, or you don't have the awareness that this kind of incident happened somewhere and some people were really hurt. And so you take your jerrycan thinking that you know your way around that, and before you know it, there's a serious issue of an incident. So as the gas activities continue to increase in this country, my fear is, are our people empowered enough to understand that your life is more important than the money that you're trying to make? Am I empowered enough to understand that it is in my interest to report a faulty gas connection or an illegal filling? Because they will always be there. You'll understand this as the society advances and you're dealing with rational human beings. They will always devise ways and means of circumventing the laid down procedures. And the laws of the land are as good as those who are manning them. And remember, we are saying by default, it's not by design. I would want to exonerate the government here. They do not have powers or capacity to police the guys next to your place, because these are not, illegal things are not done in a way that the people are exposed. So the question you have asked is very valid. My fear is that we have gaps when it comes to policing these activities, and we also have gaps when it comes to capacity of supervising some of these constructions even, such that sometimes you may not have the wherewithal to make sure that whatever has been is coming up, because some people today in the industry, I'll tell you what happens. Some of them will try and put up a plant and then try to ask for a licensing from EPRA, whereas EPRA has provided that you first of all submit every document that you need to submit so that you can start construction. So if it was not supervised when it was being done, then it becomes as good as an illegal construction. So as we move forward, I think our best defense in the society is that the government needs to invest in public education about this, because I can assure you that this may not be the last of accidents that we say that are gas related, as long as people are not educated. One, to be aware that when you see such, like he was saying, whenever you see an incident that involves fire, run away from that place. You don't need to see it. You don't need to be there. That curiosity will just lead you into something very dangerous. The other thing is, if there are activities, when you see a petroleum tanker milling around your place, when you see a gas transport lorry milling around your place, you ought to be very careful. The other thing that we need to do, and it is within our purview, is to make sure that the people who own these plants, the people who own even the legal brands that we have today, that they adhere to the safety standard set, because the mtungi that you're using today, it has a lifespan. People don't realize that. It has a lifespan. And the problem with the people that are doing it against the law, they are not obligated to make sure that they are using a cylinder that is within its lifespan. So what will happen is, because they have no obligation to make sure that they are tested, because every so often they need to be retested to make sure that there is no leakage, that the valve is working. That is done by the brand owner. If you're feeling a brand that is not yours, it goes without saying that you don't have the obligation to make sure that that mtungi is okay. So what will happen is, if that mtungi, because they say today that if, say, Chomba has a gas processing company in Kenya, and I have my mitungis, the lifespan or the cycle of that mtungi when it leaves my place, it takes almost 2 years to come back to me. Because whenever it leaves my place, it will go to the illegal fillings, and it will take a lifespan of about 2 years before it comes back to me. By then, it ought to have been tested for a number of times. And this is now what precipitates, because there's wear and tear. You'll find house gas accidents. They will also continue to happen because there's nobody who is checking your valve. There's nobody who is checking whether this mtungi, as I told you, you'll find some people offloading these mitungis and they're throwing them. So one may land on something that might prick it. And before you know it, when it is pressurized, it starts leaking, and you're using that gas in the house. That heralds an accident. That is an accident.
Yeah. We want to cross over to Linda, but just briefly before you go to that side,
yes,
tell me about, does it mean then that when you see some, how do you know something is, a plant is not, rather is accredited or is under your association? Do you guys, if you issue membership certificates or something?
Okay, for us we give, for you to be our member, yes, you must have an EPRA license. Okay. That is one of the criteria that we use, because it means that you have adhered to all the procedures that are laid down by EPRA. So for us, we now coalesce you and now be able to send us now the information that the government cascades down. But as a citizen out there, you have a responsibility. One thing, there can never be a gas filling station within a neighborhood where illegal. People are living. Okay. It ought to be over 200 meters away from a residential place. So just by the fact that it is within the proximity of where you live, that already makes it illegal. It does not matter whether it is licensed or it is not. If it is within a residential area, then even the licensing itself is an illegal license. So that is one of the ways that you know. And it is for your interest. Let me just tell this to Kenyans. As a Kenyan, you have a responsibility because you have kids and brothers and sisters who are living around the neighborhood. If you see something like that, just know it is a time bomb. It is your responsibility to make sure either it is communicated or it is made aware that there is a hazardous activities that are going around your area of residence, which now heralds such a disaster as we saw in Embakasi, regrettably.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bwana Shamba. We'll be coming back to look now at, the future of how things we would run. Do we then forcibly take these people out of business, these who have the filling stations in residential areas, by not buying from them? Or how do Kenyans go about it, even looking at the current financial challenges? Because it is cheaper getting from these roadside places. But for now, I want to take us back to Linda Alela. Over to you, Linda.
Well, thank you so much. And straight to Beatrice. Beatrice, before you tell us what it is like, with your friends or, your neighbors in Kenyatta, at this point, what is going through your mind? You are down there, you say you have kids. What are you thinking about your family? What are you thinking about where they are and what you can do to protect your children at least?
Right now, I have family members in the hospital because most of the neighbors, we have stayed with them for a very long time. Also, I'm also affected because family members, 4 of them are in the hospital. One was discharged today. So you asked me what I'm thinking.
No, I'm thinking at that time when you're lying down, you said you were at least trying to employ you.
I was just thinking about my life. Actually, at that time, my kids were not, actually I forgot about them because this was only my safety because everybody I knew was outside. So everybody was going in my mind, everything that was going on my mind was about me because I could not save anybody. I was not in a position to save anybody.
The natural instinct of a mother?
Yeah, I was feeling, and I had carried my kids and other kids, but all I was thinking is about myself.
Well, allow us to take a short break, and then we come back to that. Visited them, pole sana.
I have visited them. I have also lost my neighbors, and most of my neighbors are in the hospital. Some are in the house unattended. Okay, they are going to the hospital for the dressing every day, which is so painful. They are walking for quite a distance. Yesterday and today, some didn't get ambulances, and they are being called to go and get food from the social hall, which it's not so encouraging. They're supposed to, as much as we are being helped, they need to bring the food in the ground, because these people are forced to walk from the place that was affected to quite a long distance to get just a plate of food, and they cannot cook. Some cannot even get food because they don't have friends, they don't have neighbors. Maybe some ran away, and you are left alone in the apartment. Nobody knows you are there. So as much as we are being assisted, we need the assistance to come on the ground, because some people are still in the house. And also, I wanted to mention about the assistance that we're getting. People are coming from different places. They have bans because they were coming to loot. They are not even victims.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of people have bans because they came to loot. Okay. So they are not even the residents. So they need to bring the food and everything that they want to give us on the ground. CHVs and Nyumba Kumi knows everybody. So I think that is the right place, because when people were queuing and fighting to get a plate, they got more injured. Yeah, they have bans and they have to look for food. Yeah.
What would you say about the government and how it's coming in to assist? And I'm glad that you highlight some of the concerns and some of the things that you'd want for them to do different.
I would say the government has really assisted. The only problem I have is the channel to get this assistance, because people have friends. They are calling their friends to come and get the food. So the main people that are supposed to be getting the msaada, they are not getting it because they're in the house sleeping. Nobody knows they're there. So we need to have a system that they will get door to door and get the sick people out so that they can be assisted to get food, to get medicine. Nobody is following the medicine that I was given, that I'm taking the right way. Some are told 3 times 1, and they take in the morning at 8, 10, and at 1. That is not the right way. We should get people who will go to the houses and just make sure these people have taken the meds the right way, they have gotten the food, they have fed. And I know we have a lot of people, if we can call volunteers to come and help us. Yeah, so we really need to follow up on the ones that are in the houses, and nobody knows how they're taking their meds, how they're eating. Yeah.
A follow-up from family would equally be as good. And I'm glad that you said it's important that people then even let their family members know where they stay, what it is like with them. You're in Nairobi, perhaps people have no idea. They can only watch on news to see whether, well, you're safe or not. Who is this one person that you perhaps called first? You know, a family member, to tell them that, yes, this is happening? Yes. Or they called you first?
Me, I was running. And they didn't call me because they didn't know what was happening. So I was running, and I remembered I have a brother who is near me. So I begged for a phone from my friend because I didn't have my phone. I called my brother as I was running, and I informed him that there's something that has happened. I've sent my children to your house, but me, I can't come. I have to save more because there are a lot of them. And actually, I endangered him because he rushed to come and assist us. He left the door open and told me, just tell them the door is open, but I'm coming. He came to assist. Actually, we took a lot of people, me, him, and his wife. We were taking people to his house. Everybody we find around, we took around 46 people in that house, yeah, that night.
And that's an interesting point, because I had Chomba, Martin Chomba, you know, saying that it would be important, you know, in the event that this fire is happening, run for your life. Do not wait there to see, to observe and everything. Yeah. Perhaps he would tell us whether, again, it would be wise to again say, okay, let me try and save some life before I get to exit and save my own, because that equally is very, very important. We'll come back to you briefly just to get to know, you know, moving forward, the traumatic experience and the event. What does this mean? And especially those ones that are in hospital. But Victor Muyakane, we come to you, and I am told that we have Pius Masai Mwachi on standby, perhaps to as well weigh in on the question of, you know, reduction of the risks.
Right. Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you so much for that. Now, we we were talking about the different classes of fire. And when we went on the break, we were to come back and talk about how to actually address each of the different kinds of fire. I would like us to put a pin on it, literally, like we put a pin in the fire extinguisher. Let's put a pin on it. And we have a gentleman who's joining us right now. His name is Pius Masai. If you've been somebody who's been watching matters dealing with disaster management in Kenya, then this gentleman is no stranger. He's actually a disaster risk reduction and disaster risk management expert, as well as the former acting director of the National Disaster Management Unit in Kenya, as well as a retired senior police officer. Karibu sana, Mr. Masai. Karibu sana.
You are lost again.
Mr. Masai, can you hear me? Ladies and gentlemen, as we try to find Mr. Masai, he is actually one of the people who served in this. Oh, sir, can you hear me? Good to see you.
I can hear you, sir.
Good to see you, and good to see that you're keeping well. You're retired, but looking as vibrant as always. Talk to us about this event and drawing from your own experience. Where are we as a country when it comes to preparedness? Are we where we need to be, sir?
Thank you very much, sir. It's unfortunate that the system has been disturbing me all along. I didn't hear the sound and discussion that has been in the past. Otherwise, it's unfortunate for people who lost lives, unfortunate for those people who are injured, and unfortunate that the services that are being offered straight away now are not adequate. And they're adequate because some people are failing to do their responsibilities. The government is doing much, but the people who are supposed to offer those services that the lady is talking about, they're failing us. Basically, before I answer your question, what's wrong for emergency services providers to go in the houses and give services to the citizens, giving food and food items by doorsteps? Why should you allow the victim to walk the hall? And we are here. There are so many volunteers in this country. So I say, as much as the president, the deputy president, and the government, even the governor has resources, but they are being failed by the people who are on the ground. I'm not happy when I hear people complaining that they need to go out looking for food, looking for essential services, while this country has people who are just lying, staying idle, not doing anything.
Right.
If I go back on the question of preparedness, this country, we are not at the level that it should be at this moment. We have the legislators who are there, but I'm begging them, let them give us the National Disaster Management Act. It's not there. The policy is there. The national plan is working. Let us utilize those documents. I always tell people that papers don't work, people work. I know papers are very, very, very good.
Right.
But just think about this incident with the people that are already available on the ground.
Right.
They're failing us. They're waiting for what? The president has given direction. The deputy president has given direction. Is there. The governor and this leadership is there.
Okay.
Let people do their responsibility in the preparedness. We don't need more papers for people to work.
Okay, okay.
So,
now,
I say,
let me just, hold on, sir,
yes.
hold on. I think you've made a really, really good point. Let the people responsible do their job. Now, looking forward, I would like you to paint a picture. I mean, you've been serving in this capacity for a long time. You, as a police officer, as a frontline officer when it comes to strategy, policy, and implementation of national disaster management policies and approaches. This is your field. Talk to us about where you want us to go. What are the gaps that you wish to be filled, and how should they be filled? Please, before we let you go.
The problem is not the president, not the deputy president, not the papers. There are those people in the offices that are given responsibilities that are failing us. If you check in this country, we have got documents. I want everybody to be responsible to serve the country. I see it on Kenya Bureau of Standards, technical committees developing standards. There is the standards for handling and transportation of dangerous goods. I see it on safety and health, disaster management, firefighting and fire safety and fire safety protection. But why can't people be responsible, use the available documents? There is a standard which gives people guidelines how to deal with issues of dangerous goods like fuel,
Yes.
like gas.
Okay.
So where I want this country to be or to go at this time, I would like the leadership in this country to use their powers to task people who are in offices to be responsible. You remember how we used to work when I was in that office? We did not leave these cups. How can you be a disaster expert and you are in the office? Experts, they go in the field to look for work when the work is there.
Right.
You
right.
being in charge of a responsibility, you don't wait for the president, deputy president, the minister, the governor, or the inspector general to give you orders.
Right. Right. I think Mr. Masai, we are getting you loud and clear, and your message is absolutely clear to Kenyans. Thank you so much, sir. I believe we've lost your connection. This is Mr. Pius Masai, who is a veteran in the disaster management field, somebody who's well known, somebody who's served his country until retirement and is still serving even post-retirement. Thank you, Mr. Masai, who's joining us from Kakamega. Real quick, Babu, and I believe we have some sort of demonstration. A little bit. As you talk to us about the different, you said in Kenya, according to our law, we've got 3 different categories of fire. The first one, 4 actually. First one is Class A, which is flammable, ordinary combustibles like clothes, like plastic things and so on. And then next you have flammable gases and liquids, fuels and so on. And then Class C, if I'm not wrong, is flammable metals.
No.
Wait.
Electrical.
There you go. Thank you so much. Electrical components that do catch fire every now and then, like fuses and so on. And then Class D is flammable metals. Combustible metals. Now, all these require different approaches.
Yes, they do.
Now, we have some fire extinguishers from our building.
Yes, we do.
Would like you to just have a look at them and just kind of talk to us about how to differentiate the different fire extinguishers and what to do with them. Producer, could you hand me just bring me one. Just bring me one. Let's have a look. Just one, okay? Quick as you can. Okay, so just bring it. No problem. Just bring it. Bring it and place it onto the table. Is it heavy?
Yeah, it's very heavy.
Okay, brilliant.
Probably break.
Let's have our producer just have a look at that. Let me come round to where you are. Okay, so what kind of extinguisher is this? Everyone thinks it's just a red extinguisher.
Actually, the color red, the law speculates that all extinguishers should be red.
All should be red?
All.
Okay.
But this is a CO2 black-coded extinguisher.
Okay.
It's specifically very different from other extinguishers. It doesn't have a gauge, meaning it would be very hard to tell whether it's empty or not.
Oh, is that so?
Yes, but this extinguisher would serve for Class B fires.
Class B, that is flammable liquids and gases.
Exactly.
Like this one, like the tragedy we had.
But for this, it wouldn't be ideal. Okay?
Really?
Exactly.
Why not?
This extinguisher, when you talk about fire, there are around 3 systems. 3 ways we fight fire. We have fire prevention, fire protection, and fire suppression. Okay. Now this would fall under fire protection.
Okay.
It's a hand tool.
Okay.
Ideally, it would take almost 80 seconds for you to
finish it, to deplete it. So it's just there to protect you.
Exactly. It's the initial stages. This is basically at the ignition. Okay.
Right.
Meaning something helped you to notice there's a fire or you were in the vicinity. Okay.
Right.
Then you use this tool to try and control the spread of fire.
Right.
Mostly to allow you to escape if the fire you are fighting, you are unable to control.
I see.
Okay.
I see.
So,
and it takes less than 2 minutes to...
Yes, this will take less than 2 minutes to be over.
Actually, slightly over a minute.
Exactly. So if you have a fire that is likely to go explosive, this wouldn't be ideal. Okay.
Right.
Yes. But for the fire that was there, if the individuals were trained, okay, they might have been able to fight the fire if they notice the ignition source
initially, before it spread.
Exactly.
Okay, so real quick, I think we're running out of time.
Yes.
So this is a CO2
It's a
extinguisher,
CO2 extinguisher,
and
yes.
it's for Class B.
Yes, it would ideally be for...
Ideally for Class B.
Yes.
So this wouldn't work for Class C, electrical?
It would work for Class C.
It would?
Yes, it would be very, very, very well for Class C. But for Class D, it would not.
That the flammable metals.
Exactly. If you
And
put it
Class
for flammable metals, it would turn explosive.
Oh, is that so?
Exactly.
What about Class A?
It would cause what you call reignition.
Is that so?
Exactly. Fire, for it to happen, ideally there are three things. Fuel, oxygen,
and spark.
And heat.
Heat.
Oxygen itself, this is CO2, it would displace the oxygen. I don't know whether it's a bit loud. Okay.
Right.
The kick it has is a bit loud. It may affect even the sound here. Okay.
I see.
But ideally, to displace the oxygen, okay. If you're outside, the displaced oxygen would come back.
I see.
Okay.
Create
So
a
there'd
vacuum
be
and get sucked in. Reignition.
Yes. So
now, there's other kinds of fire extinguishers.
Yes.
Where can people find this information? Because we want to empower people to actually get this information themselves.
They can train with us over the internet.
Do you have a website?
Yes.
What's the website?
safetynet.co.ke.
SafetyNet, one word.
Yes.
SafetyNet.co.ke. Go there, learn about the different kinds of fire extinguishers and what they're for. Also, Google and YouTube are your good friends. Let's find out more about that. Yes, and thank you so much for that. Do you have a parting shot?
Yes, I do.
Something that all Kenyans should think about. There's your camera. Speak to them.
There are three things. Okay. One, train. You train. You need to train before you learn how to use any equipment. Two, you would purchase and install. Three, you would service. Okay. Ideally, the government can take up and try to educate and empower the people in different levels of the community, in companies, people who are affected, in aftermath, and even try and do it before. Okay. Then we have obtain. Try and purchase this equipment as per what you've been trained, what should be where, which extinguisher would be ideal, what other firefighting equipment is there as per the environment you work and live in. Then finally, service. Okay. Try and ensure that your equipment is serviced. Okay. This is a machine. Every so often it would fail. So you service it so often as per the regulations and as per its exposure to different environments. That would be my parting shot.
All right. Thank you so much. Short and sweet. Thank you for that. Now, good people, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's just a little bit of information to get you thinking, to get you in the right mental space. Please go and get more research from this. We as TV47, the home of untold stories, will produce more content around this to be able to educate you and empower you on what to do. But now, George, over to you and the good Mr. Chomba.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Victor. And of course, such an enlightening conversation over there on that side of the studio. But Chomba, as we bring this conversation to a close, perhaps there's some people watching as they cook using gas. They're having meals having been prepared through gas, rather being cooked through gas and gas cylinders. Looking at what you'd like to see happening as you combine with your parting shot, what are some of the issues that, one, whereas you've spoken about the loopholes, but then that Kenyans perhaps can watch out for, because there is that situation where a guest on the other side did say that the matter had been reported, but it was not attended to. Also, what happens when you say report and nothing is, nothing is actioned?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would want to make something clear, because not every Kenyan understands some of these things.
Yes.
When we are talking about a site that you see that is not okay, we do not necessarily mean the vendors. We need to differentiate the vendors and illegal fillers.
Yes.
An illegal filler is that person that comes with what you call a bullet tank or a tanker, and from that they distribute to the small 5 kgs, so that we don't see this, and then people in the estate start now going for the guy that vends their gas. If they are licensed to do what they are doing, they're giving you the gas, and they have the license from the person that owns the brand, then most of it is acceptable, because it has a way it can be traced from where it came from. So there's a difference between the vendor and the illegal filler. So the Kenyans, you shouldn't go for the guy, the vendors. Those are people eking out their business in a legal way that is acceptable and playing a very big role to fill in the gap. The other thing I would want to tell people is, when you see an illegal kind of a gas connection or gas filling plant, it is important, because this is a matter of life and death. Don't just say that I reported and nothing that happened. Yes. This is something that concerns your life. So make sure that if you report and it is not attended, escalate. There are ways of escalating. We are living in the days of even social media. These are things that you cannot keep quiet with, because it is important that people around you are safe and you are also safe. So you cannot just stop at saying, I reported this to the chief, or I reported this to so-and-so, and they did not act. So it is very important. My parting shot in this discussion today is basically to the government and the people that are in this sector. The gas. Today we are having vehicles that are using gas to move around. We are increasing the penetration of gas in the villages. Your grandmother and my grandmother out in the village are about to use gas, because it's becoming the only alternative to fossil fuel, that is kerosene, and the biomass, that is charcoal and the firewood that we use out there. So there's going to be a lot of increased activity around gas, and it's one of the ways to grow our economy even. But the problem that we have is, do we have people with information? When you listen to the fireman speak, you get alive to that world. It affects me, but I don't know about it. So it is important that we have a concerted effort, both the government and the private sector, to make sure that people are educated on issues around the hazardous ways that gas portends, and how we are supposed to treat it, so that because accident will always happen, but whenever they happen, we are able to minimize the impact, because we are well trained to handle this flammable liquid, the flammable gas and petroleum, because they fall in the same class.
Brilliant. Yes. Thank you so much, Martin Shomba, the chairman of Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, POAK. Thank you so much for joining us, and we indeed look forward to having another greater discussion on matters managing the gases as well as the sources of energy, various forms of energy. Yes, there's a big conference coming by POAK that is seeks now to incorporate that kind of teaching, and we'll be talking about it. Absolutely. It's coming in June, around June 19, and we'll be communicating to people what will be happening. But amongst them is such people who are able to train people on the issues to do with gas and safety and all that. Absolutely. We look forward to that conference. Thank you so much, Martin Shomba, once again, chairman of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, POAK. Linda, I must have eaten into some minutes of yours, but take it away.
All right. Thank you, George. And Beatrice, as they say, that life must go on. Just how has this experience changed or perhaps, shaped your outlook on life?
Actually, we really need to know where we are really still thinking about on where to start, because there are some people, as I'm telling you, they have lost their houses, their businesses, and we don't know where to start, because you must start somewhere. And being that some are in the hospital and they left their belongings in the house, they were stolen. So I would ask for well-wishers to really come in, chip in, help the people that burnt, the people that lost their businesses. Some of us had loans, actually huge loans. I have my immediate neighbor, and I know he had more than 5 businesses in the same place. I was supplying to her around 40 trays per week. And I was not the only one who was supplying. A lot of people, it was a big business. She has totally nothing. So well-wishers should come in, help the people that lost their houses. You can chip in and give food, treatment. There are some who have not gone to the hospital yet because they are fearing, the trauma, even going to be cleaned the wound. I would really talk to everyone who has the wounds that you don't fear to go to the hospital because the wound are very fresh for now, but they will have infection. You can go and be cleaned. We are getting a lot of people, and we are really praying that they will understand, though they really need to be helped, to be assisted. A starting point is hard for somebody who doesn't even have relatives. Yeah, some were employed in those businesses. A lot of people have lost their income, because they are working in the shops, hotels, in the salons. The place has been really affected. A lot of people are homeless and they don't have jobs. Some kids are going to school, they don't have the uniforms. So we really need support there. But what I'm really urging is that if anybody wants to help, let them come to the ground. Because a lot of people are hungry. Everybody can come and get the same food because they're also hungry. So getting the real people, they should come to the place, that Muradi, not the social. I will understand it will be hard for them to have security, but there are also go-downs there. They can take one go-down, like we have Emirates, they get a vacant place and put their food there. They get the right people from the ground. Because as I'm telling you, coming from the house to get some services there, it's far, it's painful, there's that trauma. We really need people to go and talk to these people to come out.
And while we
we are treating the wounds, there are those people who inhale. You have heard me choke.
Coughing and choke.
Yeah, because a lot of people are having problem. They inhaled a lot of gas and smoke. So there are things that are not attended. The trauma and the gases, we only treated what is physical.
What is being seen.
Well,
we certainly hope that, this will be a game of the past. I know the trauma is one that perhaps will last long for, for very many, or many people will live with this for a long time. But we certainly hope that also as a community, as a society, you find mechanisms of working together so that you all just get a space to learn and as well to heal at the same time. And we also agree that those that are able to go out there and help, today it is them, tomorrow it is you, God forbid we say, but it is important that we work together. You want to say one more thing as we go? As we close?
That our area sub-chief has taken advantage in this. We have a place that is supposed to be a road, which really saved us. It really saved us. I know the name.
Let's not pull a direct attack. Because now we have authorities on ground, and there are right ways of perhaps just getting to highlight.
There is a place that was supposed to be, and now the place that everybody used to escape. It's a road. They were taking advantage because of the fire. There was a dispute, and they were told not to build that place. So that time. The blast was on Saturday.
We have to close.
The following day,
we have to close.
Yeah, the following day they wanted to build. They are taking advantage of the place because there is commotion, which is very wrong.
I'm sure that the authorities are on ground, and we certainly hope that this as well may be reported to the right people. But I'm glad that we're having this show, and in that case then we continue highlighting this, we continue speaking about it because it's incumbent upon us. And we also acknowledge the role of the fourth estate, that is the media, in making sure that these conversations are on. Ladies and gentlemen, asanteni sana once again for speaking to us. Beatrice Nduta Nyamwitha, the victim, also thank you so much for coming in to share your story with us. It's a rather sad story. Na tunaendelea kusema pole sana, and indeed pass pole zetu to the people down on ground. Gentlemen, we have to close it.
Absolutely. Connects are watching from Kisumu, Felix from Kirinyaga, as well as talking about I wish they could start with their names, unfortunately, but we hope that next time they'll be able to start with their names. Just some feedback, especially in our SMS platform. My name is George Maringa. We thank you for joining us on today's edition of People's Court. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another.
Thank you so much for keeping it right here. We're looking forward to see you another Tuesday when we'll be discussing these things that are indeed important to all of us. My name is Linda Alela. Do have yourself a pleasant night.
And